Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is episode 3 of the Glaziar Gambol.
I'm your co-host, Joe Rybolt.
All right, today we're going to do what we've been doing. We're going to start with the NBA discussion. Today we were thinking we were going to start with the recap of the Suns-Bucks. Game 1 happened, as we talked about last episode. It kind of went as planned. Bucks lost to the Suns, and it was pretty easily decided, 13 points, even though Giannis played. Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton didn't really play up to their current potential, and they lost, and it went as expected, is what I would say.
Middleton played okay. You know, he's all this talk about him being the Batman and Giannis being the Robin. I think it's kind of like a Minnesota or Clippers scenario where there's a clear number one option, but the number 2 option could win a game for you if they take over. So I think Chris Middleton can do that. I just don't think he did that. And then Drew has just not been the person they traded for, like expected they traded for. I think he had like 10 points, 9 assists, but like negative 16 or negative 17.
Yeah.
So,
well, there was that interesting thing where he was guarding Booker. Booker hasn't made a shot on him, but
so I mean that's his job,
right?
That's why you got him.
So do you run with him as your third scoring option still, or do you try to get somebody like Brook Lopez?
Lopez has been shooting good,
right?
Which but he's a liability on defense because he can't keep up with Ayton.
He's the right weight, just not the right athletic
size.
He
can't keep up. So maybe I think Drew really needs to be the New Orleans Pelicans Drew in order for them to have a chance.
What do you think of the whole Giannis as the number 2 and Middleton should be 1?
I mean, the face of the franchise. You're not gonna look at the Clippers or the Timberwolves and be like, D'Angelo Russell's the number 1 or Paul George is the number 1.
Right.
So it's not like
Paul George. People think Paul George after this year.
Well, he was playoff P for the first couple games, and then he 40-point games. He's single-handedly brought him back. I think it's not a scenario where you've got like the Lakers where like they could have 2 number 1s. It depends on if LeBron's on that night or if AD's healthy.
Yeah.
So
street clothes.
Yeah.
God, I hated that. Good. I hated when he called them street clothes. I thought that was super rude.
Yeah.
I think that's why he played the final game. I think he got upset about being called street clothes and like the narrative that was being called about him. Yeah. And I think he went out there and then played even worse. Yeah. And I think I was so mad.
Yeah, you need healthy superstars when it comes to this point. You've seen it with Trae Young, look at Kyrie,
KD.
Harden even wasn't.
Yeah. KD had to play like.
Yeah, I mean KD was healthy the whole series, but Harden wasn't 100%. Kyrie was out, so
yeah. God, well, next game, what we really want them to do in order for the Bucks to win, Drew Holiday has to make at least 1 3.
Yeah, he's got to play better.
He can't be over.
He has got to play better
because they picked him over.
They signed him too.
Yeah,
they signed him to a deal too,
and they got rid of Bledsoe for. They replaced him with Drew Holiday.
Right. So you're getting way better defense with Holiday, but Bledsoe's a scorer.
Right. Bledsoe, he was a scorer on the Suns. He's a scorer on the
now
Bucks.
He's watching his 2 exes
He's watching his 2 exes get together. He's watching them, fighting it out.
Poor guy. I don't even know where he is now.
Bledsoe? I don't even know.
He's a Pelican for a little bit. I'm not sure where he's at now.
He's probably off the bench wherever he is.
Yep.
Well, yeah. Otherwise, I think the Suns got it. I think the Suns in 5 still.
Yeah.
Even after that first game, Giannis had 17 rebounds in 20 minutes, and yet still felt super unmatched.
There was a tweet from 2016 that I saw, or 2017, of some guy saying 2021 Finals, Bucks or Milwaukee versus Phoenix, Bucks in 7. So like I
saw that too.
Yeah, I want that to be true. But I don't think the Bucks can beat the magic that the Suns have.
Yeah, I saw that too. I thought that was interesting. But with a lot of those sports predictions, I mean, right now you and I could be like, 2026, Bills versus Vikings in the Super Bowl, and then if it doesn't happen,
lost that the last time it was Super Bowl.
Yep. The Vikings haven't won one yet, so it's
we could be 2022 Vikings Chiefs.
Like the 2021/2022?
Yeah, 21-22.
Right. two best
season.
quarterbacks in the league going up against each other in the Super
Best
Bowl.
fourth quarter quarterbacks.
Yeah, number one and number two.
Yeah.
Both top 5 under pressure last year.
Yeah. One had the most completions 20 yards down the field.
Yeah, and the other one's Patrick Mahomes.
Yes. Can't beat those numbers.
Yeah. Just saying.
Kurt is back.
Kurt. Who was it that called him
That was my
Kurt?
favorite tweet. It was when I want to say it was during the Broncos game last year when we were like, no team has come back down 23 or 26 at halftime. And then we came back and won and beat the Broncos. And someone tweeted, Kurt is back. Because Cousins is playing good. He had like 3 touchdowns in the second half, something like that. So
MVP.
I love
2021.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Kirk.
I
don't
think
think he's
Kirk's
the problem.
underrated.
I think he is too.
It's the prime time
The narrative
games,
around
the
the
narrative
primetime
around primetime, the narrative against playoff winning team, like playoff teams. But then when you go up, when you look at the stats of every starting quarterback against playoff teams, all of their stats go down.
Here's the thing.
It's like, oh, playoff teams are the best
when
teams.
we did the playoffs, the New Orleans game, that was a big time game. He went right down the field in overtime, threw the fade to Kyle Rudolph, who may or may not have pushed off.
Kyle Rudolph, 3 interviews or so. Yeah. I did not push off.
Yep. Yeah,
he wouldn't lie.
Yeah, this wasn't a push off. It was just he was just trying to. No. That guy was tickling him, I think.
Just it was a Saints guy.
Yeah,
probably.
So, yeah, and then kind of pooped the bed versus the 49ers. But
last 2 times the Vikings were in the Super or playoffs, 3 times or so, they have never pooped the bed.
Yeah. So it got smacked by the Niners. Everyone's like, Kirk.
Smacked by the Eagles, smacked by the Niners.
Kirk sucks. Bad quarterback, And then the next week, the Packers got smacked by the same team in the same way.
Yep.
Couldn't stop the run.
230 some yards on the ground before contact.
Yeah. So they couldn't stop the run. We couldn't stop the run, and Rodgers didn't play well. So if you're saying Kirk Cousins sucks in that scenario, Aaron Rodgers sucks in that scenario, Kirk equals Aaron Rodgers.
And Kirk equals Aaron Rodgers. When you look at Aaron Rodgers' games against playoff teams in primetime, he has also only won like 2 games.
Yeah. It's not easy.
No. Dak Prescott has like 1 win in primetime against playoff teams.
Dak also threw for like 500 yards a game last year before
except for like the top 5 quarterbacks. Quarterbacks don't have as good of stats against playoff teams in primetime because those are the best games.
Yeah.
Like, you don't expect like Patrick Mahomes, everybody agrees, is a top 5 quarterback. Right. A lot of people say number 1.
Right.
Both Super Bowls, he was really underwhelming.
Yeah.
So you're not going to say he's a bad quarterback because he played 2 bad games.
No, he's not. I've seen some of the throws he does. We watched a highlight video today of just him falling and throwing 70-yard bombs right on the money.
Casually, like Aaron Rodgers when he was playing catch with Tom Brady at the match.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Casually throws it.
Just boom, dart.
Right. And Patrick Mahomes the same way.
Yeah. Just Pat Mahomes can do it from every angle.
Right.
Rodgers can too.
Yeah.
But
which, as a Vikings fan, it hurts, but you can't say he's bad.
I saw a tweet the other day that says, "Can't wait for Aaron Rodgers' 2022 debut with the Vikings."
If he does what Brett Favre did, I'm gonna be all for it.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
Kellen Mond, I want to see.
I'm excited. Especially they had very similar. The Vikings had very similar views of Fields and him.
Yeah.
And so when Fields' asking price got too high, they were comfortable taking Mond.
I thought it was exciting that they were going to try to trade up for Sewell. That they tried to trade the Lions for Sewell, and the Lions were like, "Nope, if Sewell was the only player the Lions were going to take. Right. If it was anyone else, they were going to trade down."
And just the relationship with the Spielman brothers, like Rick Spielman and Chris Spielman. So,
God, that Penei Sewell. I'm excited for Darisaw.
Oh yeah, I think they got incredible value.
They got the best power blocker from college.
Yeah.
From Pro Football Focus, which I'm not a huge fan of.
Pass block, right?
Yeah, power pass block. And there was something about blocks beyond 2 yards. Blocks beyond 2 yards down the line of scrimmage, so that's his power running, too. He was number 1 rated by 7. It was like, he was a 98 rating versus a 91 was the next closest, which was Sewell.
Sure.
And then it was Vera Tucker and the other big left tackle, Slater. Slater was the other one. So like
Sure.
all 4 of those were
Yeah, and they're all first round.
and
talents.
all 4 are first round guys. So yeah, I'm very happy with Mond and whatever, but
I'm excited. I want to do a Vikings season in Madden. You've been talking about Madden. I want to do a Vikings season in Madden and try to stay as authentic to like what the Vikings would do or like what is a smart decision.
I always try to
franchise.
do one like super realistic. Like what would they go for? Okay, here's their top 5 needs. So do they try to trade for it? Do they wait in free agency or do they draft for it? So you have them scout those needs, and then if one of those needs is available in free agency, the Vikings don't really make moves in free agency. So if I go for realistic, like Patrick Peterson's the biggest name.
Yeah, they get
Sheldon Richardson, Michael Pierce.
They get okay guys.
Well, Dalvin Tomlinson.
On defense, they get
D-line.
names.
Linval Joseph, Dalvin Tomlinson, Sheldon Richardson, Michael Pierce. Which
right.
I want Michael. I'm so excited for Michael Pierce.
Like 340. I saw a video of him deadlifting the other day. Just a casual 500.
He's
pounds.
also hilarious on Twitter. If you don't follow him on Twitter, he
tweets that, or like he'll tweet tweeted live reactions of the games.
He also tweets. He's probably doesn't like on regular occasions, but he tweeted back Minnesotan fans a lot.
Right.
I think that's cool. I like when athletes are interactive. Let's hop back to the NBA. We got a little tangent there.
About football for a while.
I'm so excited for football to start.
I don't even know how we got to that point.
Talking about yeah. So yeah, hopping back into the NBA free agency or NBA talk. We have some big free agents coming up. We got Kyle Lowry. I think is a big name. Where would Kyle Lowry go?
Well,
like where should some of the big free agents go?
I feel bad for Toronto because Lowry has been kind of your face for a while.
It's like DeRozan with Trailblazers.
Right, DeRozan was, but then you made the trade for Kawhi, which, in my opinion, if you could trade your whole team and win a championship, you do it.
Well, and then
because
Siakam's their new face, and they're talking about trading Siakam.
Yeah, which, I mean, you got to either you're on full rebuild, but then where does that leave Van Vliet?
Yeah,
because he's emerged
right
now.
He's gonna have to be the guy. He's gonna be the new Lowry.
Right.
You should keep Siakam, and then, in my opinion, go for a big name, big or wing.
Yeah.
So Siakam's
they tried
a 3.
Gasol, that didn't work.
Right.
Lakers tried Gasol, that didn't work.
No, he's done.
So
you can go for a Steven Adams, you can go for a Dwight Howard, you can go for a JaVale McGee, but I feel like a big wing that you could go for.
They need that because I mean when they were competitive, they had DeRozan, they had a wing player, they had a point guard, they had a wing player.
Simmons.
A scoring wing player.
Oh, okay, scoring wing player. Then
I think
Simmons.
I would love to see if they can bring back Lowry. I have no problem with that. Yeah. But I'd also, just for the fans, I think DeRozan. I think if they can bring back Lowry and DeRozan, I don't know if they're going to be good or if that's going to be good enough. But Lowry can still bang some corner threes, and DeRozan likes that 18-foot range, which is not efficient, but that's his game.
He's efficient.
Those
just
two.
Not his game. Well, and speaking of DeRozan, he is one of the free agents that's like one of the big names that's free. The Spurs were talking about doing a sign-in trade with him.
So I don't know what he'll command because he's gonna want close to that 30 mil, that max money. Right
now, the league's going towards small ball and 3-point shooting and away from drivers, and he's the worst 3-point shooter.
Not a good 3-point shooter.
Out of all the players that have shot at least 200 threes, he has the lowest percentage of all of them. So he's really just
he's a niche player.
And he's one of those guys that
niche.
If he could shoot a 3, he'd extend his career by another 6 years.
It's like the last year of Ryan Saunders in Minnesota with Wiggins. It changed Wiggins' philosophy. Wiggins used to be like a 18-foot, 20-foot jump shooter, and they were like, you might as well back up that 3 to 5 feet and shoot a 3 because you're right. It's just more efficient. The Rockets proved that.
The only people that haven't been told that are Kawhi and Chris Paul.
Yeah, well, Kawhi makes his jumpers
right because they're not going to tell you to just move back to the 3s if you're making 50% of them. Like KD can make all the 3s and the mid range. So if it's an open mid range, he takes it.
Yeah, KD can make all of his shots. D'Angelo's another player that can make his mid-range. Luka can.
Chris Paul is not a great
great at it.
Chris Paul's
great at that mid-range.
Yeah,
reminds me a lot of Sam Cassell. Sam Cassell was...
I loved Sam Cassell.
No, he'd be on a fast break and he'd just pull up 15, 16 feet.
Yep. Right, and then but he also had Zerbiak, who was a mid-range guy. Hudson would stop at the 3. Yeah. Hoiberg would stop at the 3. Sprewell was more of a driver, but
you could do a little bit of everything.
A couple other big guys. Mike Conley.
He's much like Drew this postseason, kind of not been there, not been the same player.
Right. And it's like, yeah, you were injured, but at his age, is it just the injury, or is it...
Right, did he fall off the cliff?
He declined? Yep. It's like... When with LeBron, people talked about the first year with the Lakers. Oh, is he declining? When his was just the injury.
Right.
Does Mike Conley take as much practice into what LeBron does? Like, does he do what LeBron does? Is he
probably not? I don't know if anyone does what LeBron does.
So he's probably fallen off. Which, if that's the case, he was the 4th highest paid free agent this year. So, like, out of all the free agents that are coming out, he's the 4th highest paid. He's not going to command that. Does he go to a playoff team that needs a backup?
He could still start.
I'm sure he could still go to
the Lakers. I know we've been talking about
everybody
them a lot.
wants to go. Well, that's the thing is Lakers are the Patriots. Everybody assumes the big name free agents are going to go to the Lakers, the Warriors, or the Nets, or the Sixers. They assume they're going to go
I think
there.
the Celtics are
another team.
People should go to the Celtics more. I think
with a new coach.
Yeah. And, Brad Stevens is brilliant. Him stepping up. He's got, more control of the team. Tatum's obviously a superstar in the make. He can score at every level. He can take over games. 50 points, I think, his first playoff game this year.
Tatum's a lot like Jamal Murray, where they're hot and cold. Their cold is still, like, warm compared to other people. Right. But they are a little bit of hot and cold. Like when Tatum is having an off night, he scores 17 to 20.
Right.
So that's still good, but he does have those games like where he's
50, you drop the 50 piece
and then he's really off.
Right.
And on those off days, because he takes so many shots, like Jamal Murray, that because they take so many shots that when they are off, it kind of takes everyone out.
I think when they brought in Kemba, they wanted a number 2 or someone that could take over that load.
Because they had to replace Kyrie, they had to replace Jaylen Brown. I think got hurt.
Jaylen Brown is in a weird situation. He's a good really player good. Too. So
they were talking about in the early part of the year that Jaylen Brown was the better player. That he's better than Jason Tatum.
The Batman and Robin.
The Batman. Yeah, Chris Middleton's the Batman. Giannis is the Robin.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Everyone's repeating that since Kendrick Perkins said that. Yeah. Everyone's just repeating it.
Yeah, I won't talk badly about other analysts, but yeah.
No, I like
the thing. I did not appreciate the Perk thing.
Yeah, I like when people say I like when one person says a borderline like good or bad take.
Yeah.
Because it just gets the discussion going.
That's what I think Nick Wright does a lot. And people say that he's like the worst analyst right now. I think he just says a lot of stuff that creates discussion, and that causes you to be hated.
Right, going to football, our take that we will fight to the death for.
Kirk's not a bad quarterback?
No.
Oh, that if Christian Ponder was in the playoffs instead of Joe Webb, they would have beat the Packers. Yeah. I'll die on that hill.
Great.
Oh, man. Ponder would have won that game. Joe Webb had... I always go back to that one pass where he's going down for a sack and he's like halfway down. Yeah. And in the time where Mahomes is in that position, he just guns it 15 yards. Joe Webb... and he throws it. It's like a little lollipop. Oh my goodness! That hurts me every time.
Yes.
Anyway,
so I like those takes.
Yeah,
where it's it causes everyone to go out in like an uproar,
and you have an honest argument on both sides. Yeah, it's not like LeBron's not a top 10 player of all time.
Right.
You have no argument to say that he's not.
Right.
But you do have an argument that Ponder would have beat the Packers.
Yeah, it's a Batman Robin situation is where like there's a clear number 1 and then there's
a clear number 2.
But the number 2 in this scenario could be better than the number 1. It's not like for the Lakers, LeBron and AD. They both can take over games, And you can't tell me that on any given night, one is guaranteed to be better than the other one. Yeah. But with the Clippers,
if they're both healthy,
if they're both healthy, if the Clippers, Kawhi's the better player. Yep. Even if Paul George may score more that night, Kawhi's the better player.
Kawhi did more.
Right.
Whether it shows up on the stat sheet or not, Kawhi's the better player.
Commanding doubles.
He's not even the leader of the team. Like, he's not even the vocal leader of the team.
He's a soft-spoken guy.
And yet, he's still the better player.
Right.
It was the Raptors. It was Kyle Lowry was still the leader of the team.
Right.
But he was the best player. Kawhi was the best player on the team. So, yeah, I would. I'd have to agree. I think he would. I think Conley would be fine.
Middleton's a better scorer, like 3-level scorer.
Sure.
Giannis can drive.
He's more consistent from 3.
His size, like, it's hard to get someone that's 6'11" with a 7'4" wingspan or whatever he has. So, but Middleton's a better shooter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So,
all right, and then besides Mike Conley, another guard that's available is Victor Oladipo.
Constantly gets hurt. I wouldn't touch him with a 20-foot pole.
And I feel that way about like Simmons trades. You'd probably touch him or hurt him with that pole if you touched him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He played like 4 games.
He also like made that big deal about like Pacers. Indiana is my city.
Right.
Like,
they moved on quick.
Right, and he moved on quick. Like, so you can't off the court. He's gonna say the right things, but he's not really gonna be loyal.
Yeah,
it seems.
He went from Magic to the OKC to Pacers
to Miami, Houston, Miami.
Miami. Houston, Miami.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Miami, Kawhi is also another player that's a free agent.
Yeah,
they're linked to him.
They have a lot of players coming off contract.
And he has a player option. He's not a team option. He's a player option.
So, I mean, he could...
well, they have... Who do they have? Who do the Heat have coming off? It's Iguodala.
Dragic.
Bjelica, and... Well, they have Oladipo. And then they have Trevor Ariza.
Yeah.
All coming off contract.
I think Ariza would be smart to bring back. I think he's probably the best to help your team.
Depending on the price, I agree.
He can make corner threes, or he can make threes. For instance, not necessarily corner threes. And he's still a pretty good defender. He's in that P.J. Tucker kind of area, just not as good as P.J. Tucker.
I don't know. I feel like offensively he's way better than P.J. Tucker.
I think so, too.
You can,
he's a better
expect, if you said, give me 5 points a night, I don't even know if P.J. Tucker can give me that. Yeah. But if you tell Ariza to give me 5 points a night, I think he could do it.
It's like Jay Crowder lately.
Jay Crowder's
super important to the Suns, but you don't know what you're going to get points-wise.
Right.
You can get hard defense. You're going to get right position, good rebounds.
You're going to get a little bit of a nuisance.
Right.
Get into the head mind games.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's a couple other people.
I'd love to see Kawhi on the Heat, though.
I think Kawhi would look on the Heat. I think Jimmy might not. He'll like having another good player.
But Jimmy's not the number one now. Jimmy's not the guy now.
Now Bam is?
Kawhi. If Kawhi was there.
If Kawhi's there.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I feel like Jimmy's still the number
one. Oh, yeah. Jimmy's the guy.
Yeah, I would say Kawhi becomes the number one, but then Jimmy, because his issue, like when he was on the Timberwolves, when he was on the Bulls, it was nobody tries hard.
Right.
And Jimmy's like, and Kawhi, load management was invented for Kawhi.
Yep.
Basically.
Yep.
The Spurs invented it for Duncan and stuff, but...
But you never doubted that because Pop was a coach.
Right. And now, is Jimmy going to be okay with?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Where Jimmy goes, drama goes.
Right, and then if Kawhi decides, like what happens when he gets hurt in the playoffs, and Jimmy has to do what he did in the bubble.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Jimmy Butler had the worst playoffs of any player. Yep. He didn't score double digits once, and he's supposed to be, at the end of the bubble, people were saying he's a superstar, top 5, top 10 player.
He was the best player on the Wolves, best player on the...
But then if you tell me from the playoffs this year that he's a top 5 player, I'm going to laugh in your face.
I don't believe that either.
Not even a double-digit points. Right. And it as the number one option. So it's not like somebody else is taking his plays. Right. He's just not scoring.
Duncan Robinson is scoring.
Yeah.
I mean...
It was sad.
Pure shooter.
I thought... And so, like, Jimmy clearly shouldn't... In my opinion, Jimmy shouldn't be a 1.
Yeah. He's got to prove that he can.
There's a couple players that are good ones, and like all the respect to them, they are good ones. They can probably get to like the team Hall of Fame, maybe not the national like NBA Hall of Fame, but they can be one of the best players on their team ever.
Right.
That should be 2s instead.
Right.
Like Klay Thompson could be a 1.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
But as a 2. The Warriors are thought of as a top seed every year.
Right.
Because they have Klay Thompson as a 2. So Jimmy Butler, amazing as a 1. But when you hear the team says, oh, Jimmy Butler's your 2,
right.
you think, wow, that team must be insane.
Right. If they have someone like Kawhi.
So I think I would like Kawhi. And then Kawhi's still in a big city, which he likes to be.
Right.
He's from Southern California, so he still gets to be in Florida, good weather. That'd be fun. A few more players. We're just going to hit them really quick. Tim Hardaway Jr., think he should stay with the Mavs.
Yep.
Dennis Schroeder, if he really wants $100 million for 3 years or 4 years at $120 million, the only teams I could see him going to are non-playoff teams.
Right. Orlando, something like that. A quick thing on Tim Hardaway. Yep. His dad said when they did the Kristaps trade with the Knicks that the Mavericks were trading for his son. Like, his son was the centerpiece in the deal, not Kristaps. And that's probably evident now. If I'm sure they thought, like, potential with Kristaps and Luka, with, like, Hardaway being a sweetener for them.
Right.
But Kristaps hasn't panned out. It's
Kristaps. Ben Simmons, Kristaps Porzingis, Tobias Harris. There's a few guys.
Jimmy.
This playoffs.
Conley.
They showed that the narrative about them has to be changed over the regular season next year.
Sure.
So guys like Schroeder, Kristaps, like they need short deals to prove what they can do.
I agree.
Or they got to be moved on, changed.
Yep.
And then Lonzo Ball, just because he's one of my favorite players. Guy, he's a restricted free agent. If I'm the Pelicans, I match every offer.
Right.
Because
unless it's just absurd.
He's gotten better every single year.
His shooting.
He's a perfect match with Zion.
Yep.
And you got to do everything because Zion's already got the rumors of not wanting to play.
Right. Yeah.
He wants to go to New York and that sort of thing. So you got to do what you can to make him better and make him happy. I think the best way to do that is with a distributor, and then all the rest of the guys are people that clear the lane and nail threes.
Yeah, you need shooters.
Just all three. So you put Lonzo, 3 other 3-point shooters.
Can make threes, but
his 3-point percentage has gone up every year.
Yeah.
So you get those guys like when they are free agents, you get them. You go after Tim Hardaway Jr.'s. You go after, like when Terry Rozier was a free agent, you should have gone after him. Right. You go after the Duncan Robinsons, and then after you load up with that, if you start making the playoffs, Zion's not going to be talking about leaving.
Right.
So go get those guys. Try to trade for Dame.
Shooters. Yeah. Try to get the shooters. That's what. That's why the Lakers are.
CJ McCollum.
That's why the Lakers are not as good.
Yeah, they were the worst.
They need three-point
team.
shooters.
Yeah.
You got KCP, can't do anything.
Yep.
So.
And then back to Chris Paul. Do you think they should give him a 4-year deal?
Chris Paul's already said he's most likely going to opt out of his player option,
and that he doesn't want to retire even if they win.
So he would make like $44.5 million this next year, which is a lot of money. But if instead of getting $44 million for 1 year, I think he's looking for a 4-year deal.
He wants 4-year, and if it was 4-year, it'd be about 122.
So yeah, he wants around that 30 number.
Yep. So you're paying for less anyway.
Yeah, but
more in the future.
But yeah, so he wants, instead of getting a $44 million payday, he wants to get the $120 million payday.
Yep.
So it's smart by him. But if I'm the Suns, I don't know if you got to extend Ayton, which is, who knows what he's going to command.
Yep.
I don't know if he's a max player. Ayton is. I don't know if he's a max player.
He might not be now, but he probably will be in the future. If he gets away from that mid-range and starts developing either a sick post game or a better outside shot, like his outside shot's decent, but not something to write home about. If he develops that a little bit better, I think he becomes a max player.
Right. And
I think with the way the market is now, guys like Andrew Wiggins getting super maxes.
Yeah, he's a max.
So DeAndre Ayton's a super max.
Yeah.
And then we're going to do a new segment, everybody, with my co-host, his idea. It is called Who Says No? It is things that we got from NBA Twitter, which is always wonderful, and different articles that we've seen proposing trades throughout the NBA. And, just going through them and seeing that so you can hear just how smart everyone is and analytical. The first one, the Pistons and Oklahoma City is the one that was been popular today. We are recording on the 8th. Today, a lot of discussion has been happening about the Pistons and the Thunder. SGA and number 6, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and number 6 for the number 1 overall pick. And the number 1 is going to be expected to be Cade Cunningham. And the reactions to that were that the Thunder weren't giving up enough.
And a lot of things that I've seen is if you follow the draft or draft capital over the years, OKC pretty much has almost like every other pick.
Yep.
Because they got a haul for
Sam
Paul
Presti.
George, they got a haul for Chris Paul.
Yep.
And they over the years Steven Adams.
Yep.
Probably they traded. So they've just traded their whole team away. And the bright spot they got was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from the Clippers,
who averaged about 24, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that a 24, 5, and 6 player plus the 6th overall player, and then because of the reactions, you're saying more than that Cade Cunningham is going to be better than that combination.
24, 5, and 6, and whatever the 6th overall produces.
And then more if they do really have to give up more.
Right.
So you're saying Cade Cunningham is going to be at least a 30-10-10 a night. Like better than Ja Morant. Better than Jason Tatum.
The next Luka I saw. That they think Cade is the next Luka.
Well, with Luka's stats, he'd have to be a better shooter than Luka. He'd have to distribute more than Luka. And he might have to rebound better than Luka. So, the famous quote is that potential gets you fired. You're betting all of it, your entire job on Cade Cunningham being a top 5 ever player.
See, now if I was OKC, I'd probably include anybody but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
If you're telling me I can give you 6 and anyone else for number 1.
They got Dorn, I think it is. He was good for them.
Yep.
I don't know who else they have.
Exactly.
Kemba.
Yeah.
They have Kemba for right now.
Give them. I mean, I don't know if they can trade Kemba. Are they allowed to?
No, I think it would be like usually it's
December
like a
3
month thing.
So and then by that point, Cade's been playing. They might not want to get rid of him.
Yeah.
So,
if I'm Detroit, you have nothing to lose.
So who says no?
Who says no?
OKC.
OKC says no.
OKC says no.
Detroit probably says no because they have there's probably so much excitement around Cade.
Exactly.
Knowing that they have the number 1 pick, and he may not be a Zion or LeBron or KD. He might not be the KD was number 2, but he might not be that superstar. But just from a really bad team getting a number 1 pick, I know for the Timberwolves, like us getting the number 1 pick, even for you see the front office.
Well, and at one point they had Anthony Bennett, Andrew Wiggins, Carl. They had
so
many. Yeah, somebody wanted. But how'd that turn out?
Yeah, great.
So even with Cade Cunningham as your number 1 overall pick, that doesn't mean anything.
Right. But for a Detroit fan base, that is pretty garbage.
Right, and they lost Blake Griffin.
They lost Drummond. They lost Reggie Jackson, who were like their 3 best players.
Right.
Sadiq Bey, he's a promising young guy. I think he made all-rookie first team. So,
pair him up, rebuild.
See what they can do. I mean, you got to
hire
from somewhere.
Good young
You're
coach.
going to be better than the Magic.
Yeah.
So
you're going to be better than the Magic. You're going to be better than the Knicks made the playoffs.
Yep.
And they were a good seed.
Yeah, they're like 6.
All right, so these last Who Says No, I'm going to hit Joe here with the 4 Wolves trades that were hit, and he's going to tell me, do the Wolves say yes or no? Wolves and the Sixers was proposed Ben Simmons for Karl Anthony Towns and 2 first-round picks. Do the Wolves say? Who says no?
The Wolves do.
Okay. The Wolves and the Warriors. Andrew Wiggins.
The Wolves do.
The Wolves. I don't have to finish that?
No.
No? Oh, okay.
No.
The Blazers and the Wolves. Karl Anthony Towns and Malik Beasley for CJ McCollum, Yusuf Nurkic, Derek Jones Jr., and 1 first-round pick.
This was probably the closest trade.
Okay.
Value-wise.
Okay.
Beasley is worth the Trailblazers' first-round pick.
Because it's late, too.
Because it's late, and Beasley's contract is
super good, and his scoring is so good as that late-round pick and the score as well.
39.9%.
Okay.
3-point shooter.
So then,
great.
Karl Anthony Towns for McCullum, Nurkic, Derek Jones Jr. A non-shooting drive slasher, Derek Jones Jr., bench player.
Yep.
A big who the game is moving away from,
Yep.
Nurkic, and a 30-some-year-old CJ McCollum, who is a good number two.
Number two. Can
Hall
lead
of
a
Fame
second
level
unit
3.
Also. He can lead a second unit
On
also.
the Wolves, he would be 1/2.
I'm going to say the Wolves do. They still say no.
The Wolves say no. Oh, okay. Okay.
Nobody watches the Wolves, so they don't know the value of
They don't
players.
understand that Karl Anthony Towns is the best big man and
Three-point shooting big man?
best three-point shooting big man in history.
Yep.
Oh, that's weird. The Wolves and the Mavericks. Karl Anthony Towns and Jarrett Culver
I'm fine with getting rid of Culver.
for a bag of chips would
Yep.
probably be
Anything.
overvalued.
Yep.
For
The
Kristaps
Wolves do.
Porzingis,
The Wolves do.
The Wolves.
You don't even have to continue.
yeah, I don't want Kristaps. Again, another player, 10-foot pole,
When
might break him.
if we do a redraft, Kristaps, they were in the same year, I believe.
Yeah.
It was Cat, something.
Kristaps at number 4. I
Cat,
believe.
D'Lo, Embiid, Kristaps.
Yep,
something
I
like
think
that.
that's it.
So, yeah, that'd be interesting
And then
to
I think
see
it was
that
Jamal Murray.
that redraft.
He might have been the
5
next
or
year.
6.
He might have been the next. Yeah,
Might be the next year.
because the Wolves were looking at him.
Yeah,
They might have taken like Chris Dunn instead of him.
maybe. No, I think that's too early.
Okay. Well, either way, we could have had Jamal Murray too, but whatever. Yeah, Wolves say no. All right, we're gonna move on from the sports discussion and talk about the nerdy stuff. My co-host here is one of the reasons we have him on here is to talk about the nerdy stuff. He's very educated on this. We're gonna start with Loki episode 5. It was a major addition to the show. In my opinion, it was the best episode yet of the show.
Close with 4, I think. 4 was the big one, or 3 was the big one.
3 was the terrible, in my opinion, the worst episode with all the
Lamentus
action and on Lamentus. Yeah, where it really didn't push the story forward.
4 was good.
4 was
4 was
insane.
good.
Yeah,
Okay, so 4 was good. So it's up there.
I think my official top 5 was number 5, number 4, number 1, 2, 3.
Got it. And then it's gonna be 6.
And then I'm thinking when 6 comes out, all of them are gonna bump down 1, and 6 will probably be the best.
Excited for the finale.
I did this last time. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. That's 3 alerts of spoiling. If you are mad about it and you still get spoiled, you deserve it. All right. So the big surprise to everybody was Goliath the Usurper. Nobody expected him to come in. It was one of those things that when I saw it at first, because I loved the comics, but I wasn't I don't remember every character immediately. So when I saw him, I was like, something, like it twinged in the back of my head that I recognized him, but I was like, who is that? And then when they said Goliath, I was like,
Yeah.
oh.
Right. So when I saw it at first, I was like, giant purple cloud. I thought of Fantastic Four and Galactus.
Mysterio was green, or is he green clouds?
He was green.
Okay.
But yeah, I thought Galactus, and I was like, oh no.
You're right. Yep.
Here we go again. But no, it looked
That's what
like
other people were saying. They thought it was going to be Galactus.
It looked a little different than in the comics. The comics was kind of like a flat face.
Yep.
Whereas this one kind of looked like a serpent in the
Yeah,
clouds.
it was serpent / like the skull of a dog. Like it was, it looked like that, right?
Okay.
Yeah, like the extended nose with
Yep.
the fangs.
Yep.
And then Goliath in the comics was like all powerful. Like he could be defeated, but he couldn't be controlled.
Right.
And in this, the fan theory with Kang being the big bad,
sure.
it's definitely not another Mephisto
Yeah,
thing.
it could be.
Yeah.
It could be Mephisto. I know you tweeted out something today.
Yeah.
It could be Ralph Boner.
Ralph Boner
As
could
Mephisto.
be as Mephisto, could be controlling Goliath and be the big bad behind it all.
Yep.
Definitely, that's my number one theory.
You have to think Mephisto could be anywhere,
Yeah.
especially after WandaVision.
After one, I mean, Mephisto was Agatha.
Yep.
Mephisto is Goliath and Ralph Boner.
He's John Walker.
He is John Walker, and he's Wanda.
He's Contessa de la Fontaine, or whatever her name is.
It's Julia
Valerie.
Louis-Dreyfus.
Oh.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. And then another big character from the show. Well, another thing about Goliath, actually, he was able to travel through dimensions in the comics.
Okay.
I think that's huge.
Like multiverses? Dimensions?
There's versions of Goliath that it's multiverse, and then like the power seems to be able to handle traveling through multiverse, but it's not specified as a multiverse.
Sure.
And then there's other versions of Alioth where it specifies that it's just dimensions, like moving through third dimension.
Sure.
Fourth, like
So, I mean, canon in the
12th dimension.
Canon in the comics is different than canon in the show. That's,
Right.
I mean,
absolutely.
Just with Sylvie in general.
Well, and the fact that this Alioth is potentially being controlled by somebody, like as a guard dog,
sure,
we can already assume it's not going to be able to travel through multiverse because he wouldn't be that powerful.
Right. And Sylvie charmed it there.
Yeah.
So it's there.
Right.
It's in this void at the end of time, which
right.
is just the name the TVA gave it. We don't know what it is.
Right. I think Void's a good name for it, but probably has an official name.
Right.
Valhalla. Yep. Something intense. Another fun little character that was thrown in was Throg.
Yep, we saw Throg.
Frog Thor.
But you had an issue with it.
I did have an issue with it. So that's above Throg, up and to the left, as you're watching from the screen, there is Mjolnir. It's supposed to be Mjolnir, right?
Right. It looks like Mjolnir.
Looks like, if it is, and Throg looks like he's trying to get it. He's jumping like, at it over and over.
Right. In a jar. He's in a jar.
In a jar. So, why isn't he summoning it? Why isn't he calling? Because if he calls towards it, he would be able to break the jar.
In Avengers Endgame, there was a callback to that twice. There's when they go at the start. Captain Marvel gets in Thor's face, and Thor lifts his arm out and summons Stormbreaker, just like that. And then when Fat Thor and Rocket go to Asgard in the past, he summons Mjolnir from God knows where.
So he does summon it?
Yeah, he summons Mjolnir.
Right.
And he's been known to just come through a bunch of walls. Doctor Strange, he did it with the umbrella too. So, you're right.
Why doesn't he summon
it? If Throg can wield Mjolnir, why didn't he just...
Because if he's jumping towards it, he assumes he recognizes it and assumes he can control it. In the comics, he controls it. It's his size, but he can control it, and that one's clearly not his size.
Right.
So you can either say it's a Mjolnir from another timeline that he can't control.
Right. Much like the Infinity Stones only work in that specific timeline.
Right. So it's either you would either have to say it's a Mjolnir from a different time, that's why it's that size, or it's just a plot hole.
It was a good comic callback.
Yeah.
Or a callback. I like those.
Quick Easter egg that if they thought about it, it could have been poked as a plot hole, but they could have actually thought about it and said, nope, it's a Mjolnir from another timeline.
Sure.
So there is a way around it.
Right.
But there is that whole, why didn't he just summon Mjolnir?
Right, so that's a variant of Thor. Another thing is that we learned this episode is that there is variants. Like, for instance, our Loki in this show is a variant of the Loki that died in Endgame.
Yep.
In our timeline, in the sacred timeline. So that variant looks just like our Loki. President Loki looked just like our Loki. So there are Lokis that look exactly like our Loki, and then there's also Lokis like Sylvie, who does not.
Right.
So,
and our variant Loki and our Loki are both 616 or Earth 616.
Earth 616. Yep.
They're both 616 Lokis.
Yep. And Kid Loki and Classic Loki could also be from 616, hypothetically.
Yes, exactly. But because he killed Thor as a kid, he could still be.
No, because they could yeet him out of there and reset it.
Yep.
So.
So yeah, they could be from the same timeline.
Could be.
Except we saw the young version of Loki, and he didn't look like Kid Loki.
Right.
So we can assume he's from a different timeline. And classic
Loki is what I read something on this where they said, what would it be like if Loki did trick Thanos out and he faked his own death, and that's what would have happened with classic Loki.
Sure. Then there were some fun Easter eggs. There was Marvel Easter eggs, real life Easter eggs, and then there was in my opinion, a Disney / Marvel or Disney / Pixar product Easter eggs. Mobius is driving the Pizza Planet truck. I think it's a variant of, or like a different version of the Pizza Planet truck,
which is in like almost every
Pixar movie. Yep, because it's the Pixar-verse is the Pixar theory is the number one like Pixar animated movie theory, and this would add to that,
Right.
which I even if it's not true, that's what I think. I think
There's
it's
a million timelines. There could be a timeline where
why have a pizza thing on the top of
Right.
it? Why show up in a pizza delivery truck if
Right.
it doesn't mean that?
yeah.
Show up in a
Why
station
did that
wagon.
get pruned?
Right, unless it was a Pizza Planet truck that was put in the wrong movie.
Maybe.
Like, come on. I think that's more fun.
That is fun.
And then there were a whole bunch of the real life Easter eggs, which I thought were super cool.
Yeah.
There was the USS Eldridge, which was the ship that was in the Philadelphia experiment.
Sure.
Which, for those of you that don't know, it was an experiment that was testing a new form of technology that the government has never explained what it was supposed to do. It was, in a lot of discussions, it was invented by Nikola Tesla, and there's multiple versions of the story. Some people say the ship teleported and then teleported back to the same area. Some people say that it went invisible and then reappeared. But when it reappeared, when it teleported back, there were some of the crew members had died. Some of the crew members had gotten illnesses. Some of the crew members were fused into the ship. So it was one of those like conspiracy theories that the show, just like D.B. Cooper Unsolved, was another one of those.
Brilliant.
Right.
Which is brilliant. That was all a bet. They even had when Heimdall sucked him back to the Bifrost. They even had a couple bills fall down because they found bills in the river that was around that area. It was brilliant.
Right.
I think that.
Absolutely. I thought that was awesome. So the USS Eldridge, good call. The Mary Celeste, which was the ship that was discovered in the Bermuda Triangle, that there were half-eaten meals aboard the ship, and yet the crew and everyone aboard was missing. That was another one of those, like, oh, what happened? Another little unsolved mystery. There was UFOs in the void.
There was a UFO there.
There was the Lighthouse of Alexandria, the Sphinx, one of the Great Pyramids. So all, like, these previous 7 wonders. The Sphinx, I believe, was fully intact, so it might have been a variant because it didn't have the broken nose. Sure. And then there was the animals that have been pictured throughout historical texts, like the floating head chickens that shouldn't exist, or like animals that have been created by famous authors to exist that were like, so
Right.
It was just a lot of real life attachment that brings some more entertainment to the show. It was really cool.
That's something to explore. I know a lot of people assume Loki's getting a second season.
Right. Yep.
To go do these kind of question marks in history and have Loki go there if he's working, if he's working for the TVA, if they don't disband the TVA or whatever, if he's this like time agent,
right,
or like rogue time agent, him and Sylvie and Mobius, just to go and explore these kind of question marks in history and put like a Marvel take on them, I think would be super interesting.
Yeah,
to do.
I agree. And then the real life Easter eggs. The fun thing about the Sphinx and the Great Pyramid is there was a version of Kang.
Mephisto?
There was a version of Kang in the comics that went back in time to become a ruler as an Egyptian pharaoh. So it could be another reference to Kang, just like Kang on the Avengers Tower.
Qeng.
Right.
Qung. One of those two.
When Kang had a different person or a different alias.
Mr. Griffin.
Yeah. When he had alias as the Mr. Griffin, he had the company Kang who bought that tower, and that was Kang. So there's another potential reference to Kang. The Egyptian references could be the reference to a different Kang. Could be a whole lot of Kang. Could be a whole lot of Mephisto.
Yep.
Ravonna Renslayer is another reference to Kang. So I think Ravonna is probably Mephisto controlling Kang.
Oh. But where does Ralph Bohner come in?
Ralph Bohner is the mastermind behind it all. He is controlling Grandmaster.
Okay.
And Galactus.
Okay.
And then that leads us to the Marvel Easter eggs, which Joe had a fun thing he saw that was a deleted post on Instagram that one of the Marvel Easter eggs, we'll talk about the first one. So there was Thanos helicopter. For those of them, the Thanos copter was in the comics. Thanos flies in on a yellow helicopter, flies around, and it says Thanos on it. That was just a reference to that. I don't think that's
another I don't think we'll ever see that in use.
Right, but it was like a hey.
It existed in the comics. It was fun. I don't know if it really fits at all.
No, just like classic Loki, he fit for 2 episodes of
Yeah.
a TV show. He's not going to fit in a movie.
Right. The only thing we got is like him spinning the blade.
Right. Yeah.
So.
And then the next thing, that there was the Dark Aster ruins from Ronan, his ship.
I wonder if that's Ronan succeeding in destroying with a Nova Prime.
Just the Nova Core.
The Nova Core and where Thanos got the Power Stone. I don't know what the land's called.
But yes, I think that's Ronan succeeding. I think that was a variant of Ronan who was successful, and they couldn't have that happen. Probably killed the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yep.
So you would have to
Killed the Guardians, killed the Nova Core. And
that means he killed
Nova. What if he killed Nova?
Yeah.
What if he killed I want to say Sam Alexander? That's a Nova? Is that the Nova?
Potentially. That sounds about right. But I think that was him succeeding. And then the Living Tribunal head, which is from the comics, for those of you that I don't think it has anything to do with like the main story here.
Right. I think it'll show up at some point.
It'll probably show up at some point, but I think for now it's just a fun Easter egg that we can make a callback on later when it does show up, and if it doesn't show up, at least it's just a fun thing there. But the last thing that is actually a big deal that's a Marvel Easter egg was the gigantic Yellow Jacket helmet.
We've been talking about, you talked about this on your last podcast, how death in Marvel never really is permanent.
It's not permanent.
You never saw Yellow Jacket die. You saw him kind of get crushed into himself and then just minimized into the quantum realm somewhere. We saw Hope Van Dyne, Janet Van Dyne. We saw Janet Van Dyne get shrunk into the quantum realm. She survived for who knows how long.
Right, in her time, it felt like
years.
It was something like hundreds of years.
Yeah. But
which is why she was able to develop powers that we haven't seen
20
yet.
years. I mean, they were in their 20 years. She must not have gotten into a time vortex.
Right, because she came out all gray.
Yeah, she was old.
And she wasn't supposed to be gray when she went in.
And Scott didn't age.
Right.
When he went in, Scott Lang.
Right.
So, yeah, and she developed powers. So
that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, we know she can heal.
That's about it. But we know if you read the comics, you know there's more.
Right.
So that we'll
and
see.
I don't even think she cured Ghost.
And she's also, it's powers that she's supposed to be able to teach as well.
Yeah, I don't think she healed Ghost either.
No.
Because Ghost was still on the run, so I think Ghost's not going to be fully healed. Her atoms and
shimmering and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you saw the fun thing about the Yellow Jacket. Evangeline Lilly had a deleted Instagram post.
So she posted they did a script read.
Okay.
And she said, so excited to, read this or whatever. And, she tagged Michael Douglas, Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yep.
I think it's
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Michelle Pfeiffer, right?
Yeah.
Paul Rudd and Corey Stoll.
Corey Stoll. And he's Corey Stoll is the guy that played
Darren Cross.
Who's Yellow Jacket.
Yep.
And we saw a gigantic Yellow Jacket head.
But
she was told to take that down.
Yeah, so she took that off. That was in May 21st, I want to say.
Nice.
So, who's supposed to debut in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania?
Kang. Mephisto.
Jonathan Majors as Kang.
As Mephisto. Jonathan is Jonathan, for those of you listening that don't know, Ralph Boner. Ralph is short for Jonathan.
Yep.
Jonathan.
And his last name is Majors, which is basically Mephisto.
M, Mephisto. Ends in an sound. So does Boner. Jonathan Majors.
Connect
Ralph
the dots.
Boner. Mephisto. Connect the dots. Anyway.
I think he's gonna come back.
You think Wasp is? Not Wasp. Yellow Jacket. Yeah.
I don't know how he fits into the story because maybe he's working for Kang.
He could be
Kang's the big
a minion.
Bad. Yeah.
Like a Kang minion. Because especially if we find out that he is controlling Miss Minutes or Ravonna.
Right, he's smart. He's good with tech.
So he has the ability to control a Yellow Jacket. Or maybe he offers Yellow Jacket freedom from wherever he's been imprisoned in order to...
You know what that final scene is? When they split that open? Or whatever, they split Alioth open.
Yeah.
Thing.
After they enchant Alioth?
It looked like a castle, and someone who has a castle is far-fetched. Dr. Doom in Latveria. I know Latveria doesn't exist, technically.
So, Kevin Feige in an interview said that Fantastic Four is a ways out.
Right.
But with Fantastic Four being a ways out, does that mean that Doom is also a ways out?
No,
because Doom's been a part of everything in the comics.
Right.
He's more than just Fantastic Four.
Doom is one of the biggest pain in the asses of the Avengers.
Right.
So Masters of Evil, I think he does too.
You say it's a far stretch, but at this point, it's as good of a stretch as Mephisto. It's as good of a stretch as Kang.
Yeah. Another option, it could be King Loki. I know a lot of people have...
I think King Loki would be lame. If it's King Loki, like, it's still a good show, but it disappoints in the end.
Right. And with so many Kang...
Right.
Like, Easter eggs.
Well, there were so many Mephisto.
Yeah.
See, but the thing is if you take away all these people talking about Mephisto and you watch WandaVision and don't think about Mephisto at all, there are no hints to Mephisto.
Right.
It's just...
And there's
a clear...
Like, you know that... Agnes is, you know that if you're a nerd at all, you know that Agnes is Agatha
Harkness. Yep. From episode probably 2 or 3, you should have been okay, that
something's off with her.
She's probably and then you look up Agnes and it's like, oh, okay, yeah.
Agnes.
And like, most people, I think, that did a little bit of research rather than jumping on the Mephisto bandwagon knew it was like, okay, it's gonna be a magic thing,
right?
And this show is about Wanda. So it's not going to be about Mephisto. When you make Mephisto the big bad,
right?
It's a tangent.
They left that door open with the post-credit scene,
right?
With her good tie into the next
point
topic. Here. But with the Darkhold, you're bringing in like everything from hell. Like it's the book about dark magic,
which can bring in Mephisto. It can bring in Ghost Rider.
In the comics, you know, Billy and Tommy.
Mm-hmm. Her boys.
Yeah,
her
sons. They were fragments of Mephisto's soul.
Right, and they were kept alive because of, like, that kept Mephisto around. Even if they defeated Mephisto, as long as Billy and Tommy were there, Mephisto could never truly die. Like a Horcrux.
Right, and then eventually, you know, Wanda finds a way to get her boys back.
Sure. Yep.
Which it's leading towards that way.
Right. Well, speaking of children, there is a point in the comic. So this whole thing about Loki becoming a good guy is like a big thing. Like, oh, Loki, you could be a hero.
So, another thing, like, if this whole thing is about Loki turning from his like from a villain
to a hero,
which he does in our timeline. He turns into an anti-hero.
He fights. Person. He tries to kill Thanos. He's not a villain anymore. He
tries to save Ragnar, or tries to defend Asgard from Ragnarok and Hela. So he develops into one, but this Loki has only experienced the first Avengers.
Correct.
So he's still villain Loki.
Right.
So they're transitioning straight from like this villain Loki to good Loki.
So you can say that the true timeline for Loki
being King Loki, the villain of this whole thing being King Loki, just kind of defeats the whole purpose.
Agreed.
Of Loki trying to be this good guy.
Just like people want President Loki, like more of him. It's like, no. Like, he was a joke of a comic that wasn't well received. This is fine.
Yeah. Like, plus, the alligator Loki's better. We want more of alligator Loki.
Yeah, I want more Kid Loki, alligator Loki than I do, and I don't think classic Loki's dead. Like, his story arc is actually, I do. I think classic Loki's story arc was fully completed. He lived a long time, and he went out a hero after hearing.
It was awesome.
Yeah,
that was awesome to watch.
And the whole, I believe we're more powerful than we think we are, that Loki said. I think that, so classic Loki went out being able to change, which his whole thing was, Lokis are destined for this, we can't change.
Right.
He went out with the ability to change and taught our Loki a lesson. His story arc's completed. People want classic Loki. He's done. However, I want to see, we never saw what happened to Kid Loki or Alligator Loki.
Yeah. Loki Gator.
Loki Gator. What they call him. Legator. Florida Loki. Florida Loki. He's the Florida Loki.
Florida Loki line.
Yeah. Yep.
Florida Georgia Loki.
Florida Gator line. Florida Gator Loki.
Yeah.
There you go. Anyway. I want to see what happened to them, because we didn't get to see what happened. They're either going to be in the...
They are doing setting up a ton of Young Avengers. And Loki has been a part of the Young Avengers as well.
Or you talked about Doom.
Yeah.
You talked about Kid Loki.
Yes.
Potential of Norman Osborn being in No Way From Home.
Yep. Willem Dafoe, or are you hoping for someone else?
Willem Dafoe.
The issue I have with that is there's a lot of instances of villains from these other Spider-Verses and none from Tom Holland's universe, our Spider-Man.
Right.
So that's, I guess, the issue I have with it.
Sure.
Is you're getting Alfred Molina's Doc Ock from
You're getting Electro
Spider-Man
from Andrew
2.
Garfield.
Yep, you're getting Electro, different costume, which
Different color even.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, he's not blue.
He's yellow.
Yeah. He's not blue and electrical.
Yeah.
So you're getting him. You're getting possibly Willem Dafoe.
You're also possibly getting
Sandman was
Kirsten
linked.
Dunst's Mary Jane and Gwen Stacy.
Yeah. So you're getting a bunch of people from other Spider-Man, which I think is going to steal from our Spider-Man.
Yeah, I don't want that either. That's why it would be better to. I feel like bring in Miles Morales. If you're going to do all of them, do all
of them.
Yeah, do all of them. But anyway, if you have
Tangent.
Green Goblin, yeah, a little tangent. That's all right. Green Goblin and John Walker in
John Walker, which we're seeing
Falcon Winter Soldier.
we're seeing Black Widow on Saturday.
Yeah, we're gonna go see Black Widow, and then we'll let everybody know about that. All those people are part of the Dark Avengers series of the comics, and Kid Loki is one of the big members. And if he came back, like, classic Loki might have said, I'm gonna go save them, and Kid Loki might have been like, no, I want to live in the void, develop my powers.
Right.
He could still be evil.
Right. He can conjure a crazy mystical weapon.
Yeah.
Not just like the little
Not
daggers.
just simple blades. He could. It was like if this were a video game, it would be a legendary level loot.
Right.
Yeah, not just silver.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I think that'd be good. Either Young Avengers
Here's the only
or
issue I have
Dark
with Dark
Avengers.
Avengers. One of the main people for Dark Avengers is Sentry, and I think it'd be very difficult to bring Sentry in because of how strong he is.
Sure.
Like, Sentry could show up and, boys reference, Homelander.
Yep.
He could pull a Homelander and hypothetically brutally murder everybody. Sentry's that strong. And I don't think there's really anybody that can stop that.
So I think if they go Young Avengers, they could keep it with Kid Loki. And if they go our Loki becomes a hero Loki, in the comics, one major thing of that is if they wanted to go this way, Sylvie and Loki may have a child together, which would become a pure variant hero Loki. It's just how it goes. So if they go Young Avengers, I think they might go the Sylvie Loki being a relationship, and then maybe second season is about her having a baby, that sort of thing. That actress, the actor who plays Sylvie, had a baby. And
She did, yeah.
She was nursing during the filming, and the outfit opened on the side so she could nurse.
And I think that's awesome that Marvel worked with her.
Right.
Still made her look amazing
super
throughout the whole
badass.
thing.
Yep.
And she was nursing. Marvel.
They did a good job.
They did great.
But they could go that way. But if they go Dark Avengers, one thing for those of you listening to look out for, when Venom comes out, Pure Carnage, or Let There Be Carnage.
Let There Be Carnage, yep.
When Let There Be Carnage comes out, look for a character named Mac Gargan.
Who has showed up in Spider-Man. He was at the end of No Way Home.
Okay.
He went to Vulture in the prison, and he's got that scorpion tattoo.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Mac Gargan's showed up.
So Mac Gargan's already there.
Yeah.
So they have Mac Gargan. Scorpion is
He's there. He's the Dark Avengers Spider-Man.
Exactly. So they have the full Dark Avengers, the primary.
They're close.
They almost have an entire Dark Avengers. Right. If they brought in Doom and Norman Osborn's confirmed,
right.
Even if it's not Willem Dafoe.
I think Doom should be a separate entity from this.
Right.
I think
from a marketing standpoint, Avengers was huge.
Right.
You got to keep the name Avengers so that marketing is easy.
I think the Dark Avengers would be brilliant to do.
Yep.
Because they're also doing possibly the Thunderbolts.
Well, in the first group of superheroes in the comics was Fantastic Four.
Right.
You could have
Marvel's
Fantastic Four
true.
versus Dark Avengers.
Right.
And that could be your introduction to Fantastic Four.
Sure. I think also the Thunderbolts could be a...
Well, yep.
Because they're your version of the Suicide Squad.
Sure.
So you would have like a Civil War type movie. You'd have Team Kinda Bad versus Team Bad.
Would you rather have Young Avengers or Dark? I think I would.
Well, they're already leaning towards the Young Avengers.
Right, and they've built Dark Avengers up.
Right.
I think Dark Avengers is the hype train Mephisto Kang Marvel fan theory. Like that's
I don't
that's
think
where
it's
they'd be like, let's do this, it's so exciting. But the more accurate and more likely would be Young Avengers, because it brings in a young crowd for marketing. It is easier to cast new people that you haven't had in the past, and you don't have to worry about expensive contracts and things like that. So I think Young Avengers.
I think Young Avengers is where they're leaning.
Agreed. I would rather have Dark Avengers.
You got two things.
I think it's going to be young.
You got two things coming out at the end of this year that are Young Avengers based. You got Hawkeye.
Miss Marvel.
You got Miss Marvel, and you got Hawkeye.
Yeah. And they're talking about Lionheart. Ironheart. I always say Lionheart.
What's that from?
Is that Mayor Lionheart from Zootopia?
Oh,
no, they're Disney product. But they also Jane Foster could be like a mother figure or a leader. Jane Foster and Valkyrie being leaders of the Young Avengers could be a thing.
Cassie Lang.
Yep. Photon. Photon could be a leader of them. So you have a lot of...
You're going to get a lot of, leadership from Monica Rambeau and Carol Danvers with...
Yep. With Jane Foster, with...
Kamala Khan.
And Kamala Khan loves... That's why she named herself Miss Marvel, so after Captain Marvel, so... Yeah, I think Young Avengers is the way. Even though I would rather have Dark Avengers.
I think that's coming.
Yeah.
I just don't know when.
Sure.
I think the Thunderbolts are probably closer to when the Dark Avengers would be.
Speaking of, we mentioned earlier that they enchanted Eliath. Right. He was physically there.
Right.
That's why he's a weaker Eliath from the comics, because he's able to be enchanted.
Right.
Well, big question with enchanting.
Okay.
Why did Sylvie, when she was in the TVA after Loki got pruned, why did she not enchant Ravonna?
I have no idea.
Ever since you mentioned this earlier when we were preparing for this episode, you mentioned it, and it's been my constant thought.
She used her enchanting powers.
Yep.
To get something out of it. So with Hunter
Renfro.
C20.
Renfro, the receiver from the Raiders.
We watch a lot of football videos today. His jukes.
Yeah.
C20.
Yep.
Right? C20, the very first one who was like freaking out that she had the wine with her. Or like
she was in the bar dessert. And they were having Yep.
So
and she was, those were my memories.
She was trying to figure out how to get to the TVA, how to use the elevators, whatever.
Sure.
Hunter B-15, she proved to her that like
she had a life.
The TVA is bad.
Yep.
But then the leader of the TVA she has under like pruning capabilities.
Has her at a defenseless position in close range.
Took her weapon.
And has her tempad and weapon.
Yeah. Well, she wasn't like, let's see if you're a variant too.
Yep. You had her on the ground.
Yeah.
Just reach in front of her and enchant her.
Yeah. Show her that she's either a variant or figure out what she's been through.
Right, but she didn't even think...
If she truly is, like, say hypothetically she is working for whoever made the TVA, you could look back on that memory.
She could either
figure it out.
Enchant her, look back on that memory. If she's a variant, she could prove to her she's a variant. She could go all the way back to when she joined the TVA and figure out who's behind it, if she does know.
Yeah.
Or, if she's a villain with powers, wouldn't have been able to enchant her, and then she finds out that Ravonna is more than she is. Like, trying to enchant her helps her figure out 4 separate things.
Yeah.
And she doesn't even think about it.
Yeah. Plot hole.
That one is you can figure out the whole Throg Mjolnir thing.
Right.
I cannot figure out an excuse for not enchanting Ravonna.
I don't either.
Outside of, we have to get her to Loki.
One more thing. You could figure out she could have figured out what her Nexus event was.
Yeah, she could have figured out what her own Nexus... Oh my gosh, man.
That's in my opinion, would have been the first thing on her mind.
That should have... Right, she was so interested that when she was arrested, that was her one question.
Minutes before, in the elevator, she asked. Minutes before.
So you can say the trauma of losing Loki made her lose... now her only thought was how to get to Loki, which is why she pruned herself.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's plot hole.
Yeah.
Why not enchant Ravonna?
I don't know. That's going to be a big
Even
one.
if you couldn't enchant her, that means you find out that she's more than just a human.
Right.
Yeah, that's the big question from that episode. Why did she choose to prune herself?
I hope we figure out something about Ravonna.
We need to.
Renslayer in this final
in the
episode.
credits, for those, it wasn't a credit scene, but in the credits, Ravonna is going through all of the history of the files of the TVA.
Right. So did she know? I don't like. The big question is, how much does she know? How much does she not?
Is she if she's being controlled by Kang? Is she fighting back her controlling? Has her memory simply been wiped and she's actually figuring out this information, or is she looking through things but she's distracting Miss Minutes while she's going through other things?
Yeah.
And then we do see Morbius. We see Mobius hit the bell.
Yeah.
And
Tough names, because there's also Morbius.
Yeah.
They're very similar.
And Jared Leto, Owen Wilson could be twins.
Right.
Yeah. And then the
one is a very successful hard rock musician.
Right, he's an incredible singer, been in superhero movies in the past.
Right.
And has very peaceful, kind of out of touch with the world living style. And the other is Jared Leto. Yeah. But yeah, why not enchant Ravonna? Instead you enchant Eliath, which is like this smoke cloud, but you're like, yeah, I can enchant this thing.
Right. What she thinks when minutes after she prunes herself, seconds after she prunes herself.
She wakes up in these twigs.
She's running away. She's in a van, I think.
Right, but there's twigs all around her in the van, which some people said is a variant of Groot dying. I think that's a stretch.
That is a stretch.
Yes.
Anyway, so she jumps out of that. She starts running. She's got the mist around her, right?
And it's
trying to attack her. And she's like, I'm going to enchant this thing.
And she gets a glimpse of the city.
Yep. She enchants
seconds after pruning herself, she can think of that. But seconds after not getting an answer of why...
No, she's more time. She's minutes.
Right. Minutes after she tries to figure out what her Nexus event was, doesn't think about it. With the one person that she knows could tell her. After finding out...
The one person that came and got her.
After figuring out the timekeepers were fake. So the highest ranking person you know at the TVA is Ravonna. Yeah. Yep. I think people are going to hear it. The people that do listen to this episode are going to hear this.
They'll look back and be like, oh, yeah.
Oh, why didn't
that work?
Speaking of those credits with Ravonna looking it up, we want to talk about the credit scene of WandaVision.
That was changed for some reason.
Edited. They redid the final credit scene of WandaVision.
Yep, as they're panning over the landscape of the mountain range with the trees. There's a triangular
some may say
I don't even know how
humans wearing a cape.
Yeah,
shape.
it looks cape-like.
Yeah.
Which there's two people. There's at least two people that we know. There's two people that we know that wear capes. Both of them are linked with Wanda.
Right. Superman,
White Vision,
and Syndrome from The Incredibles.
White Vision, and then we just saw it actually in the What If, and Shazam.
Yes, White Vision and Shazam.
Yeah.
Yes. So
there's rumors that they were trying to get Doctor Strange to cameo in WandaVision.
Okay.
Actually, when they did the Nexus commercial in there, the physician or the pharmacist was supposed to be Doctor Strange, but they couldn't get him. They were supposed to say every commercial was trying to be Doctor Strange trying to get into Wanda. Speak to her.
You were told me that. I didn't hear that.
Yeah, that's apparently what they wanted to do, but they couldn't get Benedict Cumberbatch for some reason. Probably COVID.
We're gonna say COVID just because we don't want to create a bad stigma.
Kat Dennings had COVID issues and couldn't get there for the last episode.
They had to CGI stunt double her. Yeah. So we'll say COVID because that paints a better picture.
Right. And so a lot of people think it's either which White Vision could change his not opacity, but his molecules so that he can go through things.
Right.
And that could be Vision sneaking up on her. A lot of people think it could be Doctor Strange in astral form. I don't think it's either.
What do you think?
I don't think it's either.
What do you think it is?
What I think it is, a render issue.
Okay.
Because
So why would it be heading towards Wanda and be that shape?
I don't know.
Because I also think it's a render issue. Why? Ralph Boner. Like, it's either Ralph Boner or it's the same thing. Everybody thought it was Mephisto.
You know what it is?
Kang.
Mephisto.
It's Mephisto. It's Mephisto as Ralph Boner.
Flying.
As Evan Peters.
Flying.
Flying. Yeah, he runs so fast
In the air.
that he can fly.
Could he run through the air?
Probably not. Maybe if he ran off of a ledge and jumped, he would build up enough speed where...
He could run over water.
Right?
I bet.
Yeah. That's a good thought.
We'll have to cover that. We'll have to make a new segment.
Yeah. Could Quicksilver fly? Could certain heroes do specific... Good thought. We'll mention that in a future
Run over a
episode.
building? Run over the side of a building?
Right. Or
Flash can, right?
he runs perpendicular with the floor in X-Men when he's doing the first slow motion scene, when he's like saving everyone. He like runs up
On the wall.
debris and up walls, so yes.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say it's a render issue. I don't think it's a big deal.
I don't know why they would change it
Agreed.
and not say something.
Right.
I don't know.
Or do they change it because everybody's watching Loki and everybody watched
like, oh, shit.
Captain or
Falcon and
Winter
Winter Soldier.
Falcon and Winter Soldier. Everybody is thinking about Black Widow, so they're like, "Oh, hey, keep watching WandaVision." So they just did it to create buzz. I think it's a marketing. It's a
I think
marketing
so,
render issue. So sorry to burst people's bubbles there,
Yep.
but I think it's a marketing render issue. Also, one thing we'd like to say is our ideal post-credit scene. So sticking on the topic of post-credit scenes,
Now, I've told you, we've talked about...
let's just do, because we don't have too much time left here. Let's do ideal credit scenes for anything coming out this year. Okay. So maybe your top movie, your favorite movie, or most movies you're most looking forward to.
You know my two favorite superheroes. One of them is coming out. It's Mr. Fantastic.
Yep.
So Fantastic Four has been linked. The other one is Iron Fist.
Okay.
Obviously, the Netflix Iron Fist was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Made by the same person who made Marvel's Inhumans, which was horrible.
Right.
So my ideal post-credit scene, there's linked to Charlie Cox coming in as Daredevil.
We can't say that word on Spotify.
Oh, linked?
Yes, linked. Huge links. Anyway,
so
Charlie Cox.
He's linked to coming in as Daredevil.
Yep.
Either most recently it was She-Hulk, Spider-Man. He's been linked to Christian Ritter as Jessica Jones. Been linked to She-Hulk. John Bernthal. Punisher.
I think you mean Christian Leitner. Christian Leitner. He's gonna be Jessica Jones.
He could do it all.
He really can. He can be on the Dream Team.
John Bernthal, Punisher, coming in. Moon Knight. I think he's been linked to. That could be bloody.
Moon Knight. Moon Knight should be rated R.
Yeah.
Just
TV 14. TV.
Yeah.
TV 14.
TVX. Moon Knight has multiple personalities.
Don't tempt him.
Don't tempt him. One of those personalities could be a sex worker.
Exactly. Does drive a taxi. Anyway.
What happens if one of his taxi members can't afford the fare?
And it just happens to be Frank Castle.
But anyway, so those are some.
The other two we're missing is Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yep.
Always expressed interest in Kingpin. Elektra may or may not bring her back.
If they do bring her back, I'd like a recast.
Yeah, it was whatever.
Yep.
Mike Coulter as Luke Cage and Finn Jones as Danny Rand. So I don't think they're going to bring back Mike Coulter because Mahershala Ali was Cottonmouth. That doesn't make sense.
He should recognize Blade.
Yeah,
right.
Be like, you're Cottonmouth, so that doesn't make sense. So
he did a great job. We would like to say he's a great Luke Cage.
Yeah, I thought he hit the bill right. We were talking about rights and freedom of that. He was Harlem's pride and joy. So my ideal post-credit scene would be on Shang-Chi.
Okay.
It'd be Shang-Chi, doing the tournament, securing the 10 rings, whatever, getting the 10 rings to a safe place. There's links of the dragon.
Sure.
So my ideal post-credit scene is there still being a underlying effect or like an underlying problem, like that is slowly building, kind of like Mordo and Doctor Strange. That's a future problem that they could need help with. So Shang-Chi would get a card dropped off to him. You wouldn't see what's on the card, but it would take him to this giant enterprise. Anyway, goes upstairs, goes into an office, sees a someone over the shoulder shot of some guy's hand, and he's like, Shang-Chi, I heard you could use some help. And he closes his, all you see is the closed fist, and the fist lights up.
And then
black screen.
When you told me that the first time, I was like, okay, that's one of those, it's a fan idea, so Marvel would not do it justice.
Right. But that would link into possibly a Heroes for Hire thing, which would be Luke Cage and Iron Fist, and then brings in Iron Fist to possibly come into a Shang-Chi.
And it's kind of a stupid thing, but I've brought this up. Great Protectors in Shang-Chi.
Right.
Another word for protector. Defender. So you could, if it is a code name, which I don't think it is now.
I don't think it's Xiao Lao.
Because the Funko Pop that's coming out is called the Great Protector. Even the packaging says Great Protector. So unless they're doing a whole, a deep protection of the actual name and it's Fin Fang Foom or anything like that, I think it's actually the Great Protector, and it's just going to be an introduction to the realm of dragons.
Right.
I think Danny Rand...
It doesn't make any sense for them to go to Kunlun.
Right.
Either.
Agreed. So I think Danny Rand introducing with the dragons and the Iron Fist defenders, that sort of thing.
Sure.
That would be, and then recast him with somebody that you like. You don't even have to show his face.
Yeah.
You could just
you just show the fist.
Right. And do somebody's voice, and then that can be your official Iron Fist, or you can have recast Iron Fist in the future.
Right. I mean, they had
just saying that Iron Fist is going to be there.
The first Avengers, they had Thanos look nothing like the Thanos we have.
Exactly.
So
Cable.
Yeah. Who's both?
He's both, yeah. So why not? So you can. I mean, he's wearing a mask over half of his face. You could have somebody play and Cable. You could have the guy playing Iron Fist be somebody else.
Yeah. And another rumor is they want to kill off. They want to bring in Finn Jones to kill him off, and then give the Iron Fist, because Iron Fist goes to another person.
Sure.
But then it's like you can't use Rand Enterprises for anything if you do that.
True.
So all that money.
Just recast it, then you can do it.
I think so too.
I think Iron Fist coming into Shang-Chi would be a great.
He's a martial artist.
Post-credit scene. My ideal post-credit scene. What's coming out here this year? There's Black Widow.
Shang-Chi.
I already think the credit scene in Black Widow is probably going to be Julia Louis-Dreyfus's introduction.
Valerie Day.
She might even be in the actual movie.
That was probably the one thing that they said was...
I don't want to predict any post-credit scenes with Black Widow just because of COVID swapping everything and making it difficult. So what's the next movie coming out? Wakanda?
No, Eternals.
Eternals
would be in November. And then Spider-Man. So you can choose those two.
Well, my ideal Spider-Man.
We don't know anything about Eternals, so
Eternals. I don't have an idea for yet.
It's gonna be
excited
a beautiful
for it.
movie.
Yeah. Yes. And they have some LGBT representation, which I know a lot of people are happy for. But in terms of what I would expect for them, because I don't know the main direction of the movie, I wouldn't know a good post-credit scene idea. However, Spider-Man, my ideal post-credit scene would be the movie's over, the multiverse is solved, whatever, or it's gonna probably lead into Multiverse of Madness.
It's calmed for now.
However, it's calmed.
It's calmed in Peter Parker's world, but it's a bigger mess for
you want Strange. More in our Tom Holland verse.
Right.
Enough of the Tobey Maguire verse, Andrew Garfield verse, Sam Raimi verse, I think is what they call the Tobey Maguire ones. But
Raimi verse, yeah.
Enough of those, but let's get our own guys.
Yeah.
I want an introduction of Venom.
Okay.
I would love for once all the calm has happened and they're either preparing for the multiverse, maybe Tom Holland Spider-Man sees Eddie Brock reporting. Maybe he hears about carnage happening somewhere.
Okay.
Maybe,
right.
Yeah, maybe he hears
Cletus Cassidy escaping
prison. Then we even have a timeline establishment. Maybe we get a Scorpion intro, something that introduces the Venom verse, the symbiotes. Because
Venom we don't know.
Attached to Hulk, Guardians of the Galaxy, Venom himself as well as
God Butcher.
Right, Venom himself as well as a bunch of other symbiotes have taken over everyone. Rocket Raccoon,
Right.
like, been attached to every comic.
Right.
So my ideal credit scene would be attaching the Spider-Verse into the MCU or attaching Spider-Verse with Venom. However, I would assume it would be more likely that we see a Morbius.
Well, I mean, you saw Michael Keaton's Vulture appear in Morbius. So Morbius almost has to be linked
Right.
with...
And they mentioned vampires in Loki. I think it's more likely we see a Morbius post-credit scene, but I want a Venom post. Even though I know it wasn't well received and like Venom blah blah blah.
I mean, this is the highest grossing superhero movie in November.
The loud minority. The people that are complaining about it are loud people, but a lot of people loved that movie.
Right.
Venom's my favorite.
Yeah, he's up there.
Superhero or anti-hero villain.
Right.
I tend to like villains better. I like Joker better than I like Batman. I like Venom better than I like Spider-Man.
Right.
I just tend to like villains. Maybe it's because I relate to them.
Right.
But like as
you're evil.
Right. I'm a Slytherin.
Yeah. So am
I liked Hades more than I liked Hercules as a kid. I liked
Negan more than I like...
Negan better than I like Rick, but I loved Rick anyway.
Right.
But
Yeah.
that's the appeal of anti-heroes is like,
Right.
but I like the pure villains, and then obviously I like Iceman because I can relate.
Right.
I like so
cold.
then because I'm always cold, and my name's Glaziar, which means glacial and icy.
Right.
And I would say those are my top two favorite heroes. Like you had Mr. Fantastic and Iron Fist. I would say Venom and Iceman are my two favorites.
Okay.
It's a hard one because there's so many I like, but
Anyway,
I would like Venom. He would be my ideal. Post-credit scene.
Nailed it.
The last things we're going to talk about, we have a what if discussion here. What if trailer dropped today.
Yep. A little 2-minute clip.
Little 2-minute clip. It showed Sorcerer Spider-Man, Ultron that succeeded and took over Vision's body with all 6 Infinity Stones.
Yep.
We got the zombie rising.
Right.
What if T'Challa was a Ravager?
Yeah, Star-Lord, T'Challa.
T'Challa.
There's a Black Widow one.
There was Black Widow as the sole survivor of Ultron.
Okay. Wonder if that same Ultron is linked.
Right.
I doubt it.
We got Agent Carter or Captain Peggy Carter.
Captain
Carter. And we got Killmonger.
What if Killmonger saved Tony Stark?
Killmonger still saved Tony Stark. Those were like the main ones that we saw. And
right.
Just for those of you that don't know, it's supposed to be a 10-episode show that comes out weekly. It's animated, but it's all of most of the big name actors still voicing their characters.
Yep, there's a couple big names that didn't. Captain America, Tony Stark.
And it said when it was coming out, too. It was
August 11th.
So it's coming out in a couple months, which will lead up to after 10 weeks. You'll have seen Black Widow, most likely.
Shang-Chi will probably come out.
You'll be watching Shang-Chi. Spider-Man is coming up.
December. Eternals
soon. Eternals is coming up.
Hawkeye.
Miss Marvel. Hawkeye. So it's going to lead us into the next set of all the movies that were delayed. So what if is what dropped.
But it's not MCU canon.
Right. It's not MCU canon. It's not attached, but it is your MCU fix.
And it is the last portrayal of Black Panther that we get by Chadwick Boseman.
Correct.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace him. Also, we will be talking about that when it does come out. So even though it's not canon, we will be talking about that show. Just like most of the Marvel shows, we will be talking about it on the podcast. And yeah, that's pretty much all it is for all we got today for the nerdy stuff. We're going to close out here. We don't have any Minnesota news. Sheldon Richardson was signed by the Vikings. That happened a while back. That's really the biggest thing that's happened in Minnesota sports. The Twins still are not great.
Nope.
They're the hottest and cold team, but the White Sox own us.
Yep.
And, that's pretty much it. The Wild got knocked out of the playoffs. The Minnesota soccer team's pretty good. The Lynx are good as always. Right. They're not great this year.
Anthony Edwards sprained his ankle.
Anthony Edwards sprained his ankle and is out for the rest of USA practice.
Nas Reed's still there. So I hope he learns a lot.
So, that's pretty much it for Minnesota news. So the last thing we're going to leave you is what we always do. Little fun fact, we got this one from Joe, so I'll let him take it away.
There's only one word in the English language, I believe, that has 3 double letters in a row. So
And what word is that?
So either like AABBCC. There's bookkeeper, bookkeeping, has the 2 O's, 2 K's, and 2 E's. So
Nice. I think that's interesting.
okay.
Because it's one of those things that I start thinking about every word that I know, and then I realize I don't know a lot of words.
Right.
And when you think it's like, oh, it's words, like I'm speaking, I just spoke a whole bunch of words there.
Yes.
But it's one of those things. It's like, oh, wait, not only do I not know as many words as I thought,
Words
but
are speak us.
words are speak us, which sounds like its own. Words are speak us. Like that sounds like a place.
Yep.
But
Ireland.
yeah, that's it. I thank you for watching. Joe is going to be a regular co-host. I hope you enjoyed his time here. It will be a regular thing, so if you didn't enjoy it, suck it, because he'll be back. And
if you don't like seeing me, I can sit over there.
Yeah, which, because our camera did die, he did just gesture to over there.
To my left.
To here. Like, let me point. He gestured to right there. For those of you listening, he gestured to right there. So if you don't like him being here, or at least don't like seeing him, he'll sit right over there.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you for listening. Make a difference out there, whatever you do. And as always, the merit of any work is not good enough on its own. You need a fanatical group of people to help you move along. Well, that affects our show all the time. So for every gaining fan that we get, for every gained listener, viewer, we appreciate you for everything that you do. So again, go out there, make a difference. You're making one whether you know it or not, so make it a good one. And see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.